I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater. To hear Americans and other clueless tourists tell it, Scotland has exactly one loch, which is Scottish for lake. When they hear someone sing about the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond, they think somebody misspelled Loch Ness. Is there a prehistoric plesiosaur or something similar living there? How should I know? I've never been there. I reserve judgment. The photos are a collective joke. I put them up there with fuzzy, indiscernible pictures of anything else cryptid chasers produce. Could there be something living there? I don't see why not. But I doubt it's what we're going to encounter today. We know everything except who he is, where he is, what he's doing there, where he's going, and why. He makes his way to a pub. I guess that answers one of those questions.
The monster! For heaven's sake, man! Quick! Will you help me? The monster! The doctor, he's out there, lying on the shore, bleeding.
What doctor? Aye. And who be you?
Never mind who I am. The monster, he got 3 of us, and the doctor too, maybe.
We started with a fairly well-known establishing shot of Loch Ness, and as I said, this is an American show, and Americans don't know any other lochs exist, and only one of them is purported to have a monster anyway. This guy saw it, and lost an argument with it going by his face. These guys have lived here long enough that they don't buy the monster stories, but if there's a man out there who needs help, right now it doesn't matter what happened to him.
Look, the poor man, dead as mutton.
Where he? Doctor who?
No, he would have regenerated by now.
I cannot tell you that.
What you saying you cannot tell us?
I cannot tell you, I see.
These guys can't suss out that there's some kind of hush-hush project going on, and these two are part of it. He's not allowed to tell them that either.
Looky there!
The monster!
Oh, come on. That is a submarine with some fancy grill work. How many critters that size do you know of with eyes that light up? After the opening credits, the Seaview is cruising along the coast of Scotland, headed for Inverness. Now that they're at the end of a several-day journey, Captain Crane finally gets to find out why.
Inverness, our announced destination, but here's our real destination, 6 miles from the town. Loch Ness.
The town of Inverness sits at the mouth of the River Ness. In fact, the name means mouth of the Ness. They'll park the sub offshore, and the two of them will go the rest of the way on foot. There's a secret research lab 700 feet below the surface of Loch Ness. That's where the mystery man and the doctor came from.
Well, that's going to a lot of trouble to ensure privacy. What are they doing?
Well, not more than a dozen people in the United States and the United Kingdom know about that. Let's just say they're working on a special project which could turn out to be the ultimate weapon.
Of course they are. Forget curing cancer or producing a global food distribution system so nobody goes hungry or clean energy. We humans are obsessed with killing each other. As I film this, today is what some call Columbus Day. In Washington, we call it Indigenous Peoples Day. When Columbus discovered the Americas, which is to say he was lost and his men were about ready to throw him overboard when some locals discovered him and helped him figure it out. According to his logs, his first thought was how easily he could conquer these people and take their resources. The idea of trade never occurred to him, and he wound up slaughtering and enslaving a lot of people. You want to get in on all that gold they have? Offer to teach them iron working. Offer them the wheel. They didn't have it. Make deals. Make friends. As we know, it didn't happen that way. They had better weapons that could kill multiple people at once, so that meant they were the best. And it hasn't stopped ever since. We need bigger bombs. We need faster machine guns. We need longer range missiles. We need to sit our butts down and talk to each other. The project is run by an English physicist named Austin Carruthers.
How do we fit in?
Carruthers asked me to do some special work for him. These papers represent the final step in that project. Our job is to meet Carruthers and hand them to him in person.
That should be easy enough. They'll wear civilian clothes and the Admiral will have the papers in a money belt. I had a money belt once upon a time. Never had any money to put in it, so I couldn't see the point.
Top secret. Confirm rendezvous time, Tuesday, 2000. Approach on foot. Turn right into the trees at 4th milestone south of Abrakan.
Abrakan is a tiny settlement a tad north of the loch that really has nothing to commend it to anybody but the few folks who live there. Going by this, it's most useful as a landmark.
My name's McDougall. Alastair McDougall, Professor Marine Biology, University of Edinburgh. I know you gentlemen are expecting to meet Dr. Carruthers. I've bad news for you. He died last night. Died?
Yes, it's a thing that happens to living bodies when the processes that keep life going stop processing. I thought he knew that. It's a good thing McDougall is a biologist. He can explain it better than I can.
I know you gentlemen will have difficulty in believing this, but have you ever heard of the Loch Ness monster?
That's a legend.
Aye. Well, then it was a legend that killed him.
There's an inquiry scheduled soon, and since he's the only witness, he has to testify. But he'll keep their secrets even if he has to lie under oath. He speaks in terrified tones about the horrible monster, the men it killed, and how he was the only survivor. It's amazing even he got away.
It looks like we made our contact for nothing.
Not at all. You have some important papers for Dr. Carruthers. The project is in my hands now, so...
I have a feeling Admiral Nelson was waiting for that. His orders are very specific, and they don't include this guy whose identity they have yet to verify.
I'm sorry. I don't have them.
Well, it's mortal things for fear. Without those papers, Carruthers' project dies with him.
Well, we won't let that happen. When you come aboard the Seaview, I'll deliver them to you personally.
You come with us so we can confirm who you are, and then we can talk about papers. But it'll have to wait until after the hearing.
Well, perhaps we should go with you. I'm worried about what might come out.
Might lead to embarrassing questions. You're strangers in these parts.
Well, we could be newspaper men for all they know.
Aye, could that? Well, I'll show you the way. Look out!
So far, nothing in this mission is going according to plan, especially that. Our bowman claims he's a poacher and he thought he was shooting at a big stag. I'm not sure which of those guys he thought had antlers, but maybe an eye exam is in order.
Perhaps you'll explain, sir, what you and your party were doing out on the loch that late at night, and who was Dr. Carruthers.
I'm not at liberty to say.
This is getting nowhere. The magistrate is getting more and more frustrated because Dr. McDougall is sticking by his story and offering no information beyond that. He won't budge. We've seen Torrin Thatcher several times, oddly enough, all in Irwin Allen shows. In Lost in Space, he was the space trader that Dr. Smith sold the robot to. He was Dr. Berger, the friendly scientist in Land of the Giants, and he was the research scientist on Krakatoa in the Time Tunnel. Irwin only used him once in each series, and it makes me wonder why he didn't call on him more often.
Excuse me, please. Hey, who are you?
Inspector Lester, sir, from London. I'm to give you this message at once.
Message? This is hardly a time to interrupt, man.
On the contrary, it's a perfect time to interrupt. The message basically says London is taking over and the locals are to butt out.
I see. Perhaps I don't see. I shall protest.
Yes, sir. Would you address your protest to the Home Secretary himself and mark it confidential?
Well,
That's equivalent to telling an American, take it up with the Secretary of State personally. And by the way, good luck with that.
I hereby declare this inquiry adjourned.
I would hope these folks realize that if London is interested to the point of involving the Home Secretary personally, it's way above their pay grade. The best thing they can all do is go back to their lives and tell themselves they dodged a bullet. Because they probably did.
Are you gentlemen of the press?
Aye, that we are. Would you care to say a few words for readers, sir?
Sorry, another time. Excuse me.
I had no idea Admiral Nelson could do a possible Scottish accent. Aye, he's a man of many talents, he be. He's still trying to find that stag, and he still thinks one of these guys has antlers. If he had grown the antlers himself, they might have blocked that. Aboard the Seaview, Captain Crane doesn't like the idea of turning those papers over to McDougal. There are too many unknown variables flying around this mission, and he'd like to pin some of them down before they make a mistake. Nelson felt the same way, so he contacted Washington for instructions. They're supposed to cooperate with McDougal in the matter of the papers, as well as investigate what really happened to Dr. Carruthers. That'll have to wait. McDougal is here.
Sea monsters. A fascinating thing. But no half so important as the work that lies ahead.
I can't make myself believe it was a sea monster.
Well, then what did kill Carruthers?
That's for the authorities to say.
We've already seen how much they're on top of it.
I came here with one purpose only. To get those papers so that Carruthers' work could go ahead. If you let me have it, I'll be on my way.
I'm sorry, Professor. I just had further instructions from Washington. Those papers are to remain in my safe until we find out what killed Carruthers and his staff.
Poor McDougal just can't get his hands on those papers. He seems awfully desperate, even though there's been no mention of any kind of time crunch for the project. He insists it was the monster, specifically an ichthyosaur. Now, nearly all sightings of the monster say he has a long neck, more like a plesiosaur than an ichthyosaur, but I do have to agree with him that sub that killed those men looks more like an ichthyosaur. And for all we know, dinosaurs did have eyes that light up like electric bulbs.
Now, where would such a creature come from?
From the sea, man. The sea.
Sure. Up the rapids and shoals of the River Ness, I suppose.
Nay, laddie, under the river.
He has a bunch of charts, probably classified in some way, that show a large cavern big enough for a dinosaur, or a submarine like the Seaview, to navigate clear up into the loch. There's not just one, there's a whole system of caves under the River Ness, but exploring them takes a load of technology that wasn't available in 1965, or even in their fictional 1975. And with the tools that we have today, we know the caves exist. That's it. In 1965, the caves were mostly just local rumor. People said they were there, but nobody had found them. The nice thing about a quasi-legend like that is, in a TV show, you can run with it in any direction you want. That's what we're doing now. Nelson has to leave to take a private call.
Admiral Nelson, this is Inspector Lester on special assignment to the British Home Office.
Oh, yes, Inspector. I saw you at the inquiry last night.
And I saw you, sir, posing, I believe, as a Scottish newspaper man.
I'm sorry, Inspector. There were reasons I didn't want to be recognized.
I understand, sir. But I'm afraid you were recognized. An attempt was made on your life.
He explains that the poacher tried again, but he's now in custody and telling them some very odd things.
I've been in touch with the Home Secretary. He asks that you do nothing about certain papers until my investigation is complete. Do you know what he's referring to, sir?
Yes, I know.
Good. Then please follow his advice. I'll be in touch with you again by tonight. Please wait for my call.
Thank you, Inspector. I'll do that.
That's nice and vague, but Nelson is a military man, so he's used to it. We'll expend some runtime navigating the cavern into the loch, and it's pretty straightforward, not really anything to say about it. I suspect the main goal is to expend some runtime. Lester and his prisoner are in a boat crossing the loch at night in the thick fog. He's trying to talk to Nelson on the radio and explain why Carruthers was killed and how, and tell him the Seaview is in danger.
What is it?
It's off, dude! Come on, stop! Lester! It's coming right for us!
I don't think Nelson is the one in mortal danger right now. Can't that boat go any faster? At that distance, he couldn't tell that it's a sub with a facade on it. Sick transit Lester. They continue through the cavern. McDougal has decided to have a drink in the observation dome. He's being awfully deliberate in his study of the image. I don't think anybody has trusted this guy from the get-go, and I have a feeling he's about to justify the suspicion.
Oh, Skipper, look at this. Looks like a line short. Get the duty electrician to check it out.
That knocked out the forward torpedo launching system, just as they're entering the loch and getting ready to confront the monster. What a coincidence.
Damage control, report.
Damage control, what happened? Explosion, frame 14 suit. Torpedo launching system's out. The loading system, too.
Is there fire?
We can control it, sir.
It'll take hours to fix everything and get the torpedo system back online. Captain Crane has questions.
What caused the fire?
We had a pair of defective cable brackets. They gave way and the two main power feeders crossed, causing the explosion.
Well, what happened to our circuit breakers?
Well, that's the funny part of it, Skipper. The hotline dropped just right to bypass the breakers. Couldn't happen again in a million years.
Seems to me that should prompt somebody to dig deeper, but Kowalski doesn't see how it could be anything but the freak accident of the decade.
Unless it was done deliberately.
We thought of that, but you'd have to know an awful lot about our electrical system to do it.
Sift through the stuff on the floor and see what you can find. You may be surprised. I'd bet there's a piece of detonator in there somewhere.
Captain, we're picking up something. It's ahead. 20 points south-southwest. It's moving.
Submerged?
Yes, sir. At 600 feet.
What range?
2,200 yards, sir.
And moving.
Okay then, let's go chase it and see if this sub is faster than a prehistoric monster. If they can't tell what it is now, they both need to retire.
So that's our monster. At least it's a species we can talk to. Maneuvering.
Maybe it's no your turn to talk yet, Admiral.
As everybody suspected, he's not the real Professor McDougal. He's a spy for the other side, and he's the one who knocked out the torpedoes. Now we find out why.
Submarine Seaview, remain exactly where you are. If you move or take any belligerent action whatever, we will release our torpedoes. You are directly in our sights. You can do nothing at all except what you are told.
Why did he knock out the torpedoes? So they can't shoot back. They're sitting ducks.
Oh, what do you expect now? Surrender of the Seaview?
No, certainly not that. Just hand over the plans that are in the Admiral's safe and you'll be free to go.
And we believe him, don't we? He's been such a man of his word so far.
The moment you left the ship with them, your people would blow us out of the water.
Yes, and you'd find some way of blowing me out of the water as soon as I left the ship with them. No, this little game has taken considerable thought. I think it's time for me to talk to my monster again.
His monster already sorted this out, and they have the perfect plan. He says, tell them our terms.
Admiral Nelson, Seaview carries mini-subs. You and the Professor will leave your craft in one of them, bringing the plans with you. We will take you aboard. If the mini-sub fails to appear in exactly 6 minutes, we will release our torpedoes.
Bad idea. Those mini-subs have a habit of getting blown up, crushed, and otherwise creating a bad time for whoever's in them.
But if they shoot, you'll die with us.
Yes, we'll all go down together. You, me, him, the entire crew.
And the plans, don't forget that. If they shoot, it's all for nothing because what they're after will go up with everything else. I don't think he's considered that. He's banking on the Admiral not wanting to get his crew killed. This guy is smart, educated, and clever. But so is Admiral Nelson.
You stay right here, Lee, and don't countermand any orders. Be seeing you.
Don't count on it.
This way, Professor, we'll pick up the plans on our way to the mini-sub.
They all know the instant Nelson and McDougal, or whoever he is, are aboard the other sub, the Seaview is history and Nelson is a captive. But the way he spoke to Crane, we know the Admiral has something up his sleeve.
We have only 1 minute and 50 seconds, man. Hurry.
Aren't you going to verify them?
I wouldn't be such a fool as to pass anything off on me. Nothing.
And by the way, those aren't the plans, we could tell by the size of them. You can spend your last minute on Earth reading about the Seaview's extended warranty. And now that he's out of the way, Nelson can give the missile room some very specific instructions about that mini-sub.
Get it. You're out of your mind. Admiral, listen to me.
Sorry, Professor, you don't have any more to say to him. He brought you here so you could see this. He's losing his marbles. He confesses the whole plan and says, now we're all dead. Nelson says, not if you talk to them. Keep them busy.
This is the Professor.
Aren't you on that mini-sub?
No. We've agreed to a new plan, so hold your fire.
For how long?
Another 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Only 30 seconds more.
30 seconds it is, no more.
And what happens in 30 seconds, he'd like to know? I told him the mini-sub was a bad idea. There's more than one way to make a torpedo. Pack your mini-sub with explosives and a proximity fuse, send it out by remote control, presto changeo, no more monster. And they have a prisoner who's going to tell our government lots of things about his. To me, Nessie is a big ho-hum. Is there a dinosaur living there? I don't know, and I frankly don't care. To my knowledge, there's never been a report of this thing actually harming anyone, so if there is something out there, leave it alone. It's not bothering you. The idea that it's a submarine has been done multiple times. The comic Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. did one where it was a Nazi U-boat. The list goes on. The best thing about the Loch Ness Monster is he, she, it gives us material for stories like this one so I can make fun of them. That's good enough for me. I'm breathing underwater. I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me. And all I gotta do is breathe underwater. All right, I am making a mess of this, Hazel. That Dr. Smith sold the robot. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, why'd you make me do that?